Meet Whiskers. She's a sharp tabby who spent years watching her fellow cats struggle with the same financial disasters over and over again. She's seen friends blow their entire savings on overpriced cat towers, watched neighbors max out credit cards on premium catnip, and witnessed countless cats work their tails off only to end up with empty food bowls at the end of each month. Today, Whiskers is fed up with watching good cats fall into the same money traps that keep them broke, stressed, and unable to afford even basic tuna. Here's the thing most cats don't realize. The financial world is designed with hidden traps that systematically drain your money while making you think you're making smart decisions. These aren't obvious scams or get-rich-quick schemes. These are subtle psychological tricks and mathematical realities that work against you every single day. And the worst part? Most cats walk right into these traps without even knowing they exist. Whiskers has identified the most dangerous money traps that keep hardworking cats broke, despite their best intentions. These traps cost the average cat thousands of dollars every year and can destroy decades of potential wealth building. But here's the good news. Once you understand how these traps work, you can avoid them completely and start building real wealth instead of just treading water financially. The first trap is something Whiskers calls lifestyle inflation, and it's absolutely devastating. Here's how it works. You start your career making $40,000 a year. You live modestly, maybe save a few $100s each month, and everything feels manageable. Then you get a promotion. Your salary jumps to $60,000. Suddenly you're making 50% more money, and you feel like you've made it. But here's where the trap springs. Instead of banking that extra $20,000, you start upgrading your life. You move from your small apartment to a bigger place with higher rent. You trade in your reliable used car for a shiny new lease. You start shopping at fancier stores and eating at expensive restaurants. Within a year, despite making significantly more money, you're actually saving less than you did before the promotion. This happens because our brains are wired to normalize our current situation quickly. That promotion feels amazing for about 3 months. Then your new lifestyle becomes your baseline, and you forget how good you had it before. The psychological trap is thinking that more income automatically means you can afford more stuff. But wealthy cats understand a crucial difference. They know that increased income should translate to increased savings, not increased spending. Whiskers has seen this destroy countless cats. Take her neighbor Mittens, who started as a junior accountant, making $35,000. Mittens was disciplined, lived in a modest studio, and managed to save $400 every month. Over 5 years, Mittens worked hard and climbed the corporate ladder. Her salary doubled to $70,000. Instead of doubling her savings rate, Mittens upgraded everything. Bigger apartment, newer car, designer scratching posts, premium everything. 2 years later, despite earning twice as much, Mittens was saving less than half of what she used to save. The lifestyle inflation trap had completely eliminated the benefit of her salary increase. The second trap is even more insidious because it feels so harmless. It's the credit card psychology trap, and it's backed by serious research that will shock you. Studies show that credit card buyers bid more than twice as much as cash buyers for the exact same items. That means when you use a credit card, your brain processes the psychological cost of spending as only 50 cents for every dollar you actually spend. Here's why this happens. Credit cards disconnect the pleasure of buying something from the pain of paying for it. When you swipe a card, there's no immediate loss. The money doesn't leave your account right away. Your brain treats it like play money instead of real money. But when you pay cash, you physically hand over bills and feel the immediate loss. Your brain registers this as painful and naturally puts on the brakes. Whiskers watched her friend Patches fall into this trap spectacularly. Patches was incredibly careful with cash. She would agonize over spending $20 on a new toy mouse, often putting it back after calculating whether she really needed it. But give Patches a credit card, and she became a completely different cat. She would buy premium cat towers without hesitation, book expensive grooming sessions on impulse, and purchase designer collars she would never consider buying with cash. The psychological disconnect was so powerful that Patches accumulated $18,000 in credit card debt across 3 different cards. Each individual purchase felt reasonable in the moment because her brain wasn't processing the credit card transactions as real money. The monthly payments seemed manageable when looked at separately, but together they consumed 35% of her income just in debt service. But the trap gets worse because of compound interest working against you instead of for you. When you carry a credit card balance, you're not just paying for your purchases, you're paying interest on your purchases, then interest on that interest, month after month. A $2,000 cat tower purchased on a credit card with an 18% interest rate will cost you over $3,000 if you only make minimum payments. You're essentially paying 50% more for everything you buy when you factor in the compound interest trap. The mathematical reality is brutal. If you have a $10,000 credit card balance at 18% interest and only make minimum payments, it will take you over 30 years to pay it off. You'll end up paying more than $28,000 total. That's almost 3 times the original amount you spent. Wealthy cats understand this trap and approach credit cards completely differently. They use credit cards for convenience and rewards, but they pay the entire balance every month. This strategy eliminates interest charges completely and turns credit cards into a tool instead of a trap. The third trap is emotional spending, and Whiskers has watched it destroy more cat finances than any other single factor. This trap operates on pure psychology, and it's incredibly powerful because it feels completely justified in the moment. Emotional spending happens when you use shopping as a way to cope with feelings like stress, sadness, boredom, or even celebration. Here's the science behind why this trap is so effective. When you make a purchase, your brain releases dopamine, the same neurotransmitter involved in addiction. You get a temporary high, a brief moment of pleasure and control. But just like any drug, the effect wears off quickly, leaving you craving that next purchase to recreate the feeling. The problem is that emotional purchases are almost never about the actual item you're buying. They're about trying to fix how you feel. Whiskers observed this firsthand with her friend Snowball, who worked long hours as a veterinary technician. The job was emotionally demanding, dealing with sick animals and distraught owners every day. Snowball discovered that online shopping provided a temporary escape from the stress. After particularly difficult shifts, she would come home and browse pet supply websites. The act of adding premium toys and luxury cat beds to her cart gave her a sense of control and pleasure that countered her work stress. What started as occasional $20 purchases gradually escalated as Snowball built tolerance to the emotional high. She began buying expensive cat furniture, designer carriers, and premium food she rarely used. Her closet filled with items still in packaging while her savings account drained. The temporary dopamine rush from each purchase was quickly replaced by guilt and anxiety about her mounting debt, which then triggered more emotional spending in a vicious cycle. The cruel irony is that emotional spending creates the very stress it's supposed to relieve. Snowball's shopping habit wasn't solving her work stress. Instead, it was adding financial stress on top of her existing problems, making her overall situation much worse. The ritual of browsing and purchasing provided brief respite from negative emotions, but each buying decision was made from an emotional state rather than rational assessment of need or value. The fourth trap is inflation, and it's particularly sneaky because it works so slowly that most cats don't even notice it happening. Inflation is the gradual increase in prices over time, which means your money loses purchasing power year after year. The average inflation rate is about 3% annually, which might not sound like much, but the compound effect is devastating over time. Here's the math that will shock you. If inflation averages 3% per year, prices will double every 23 years. That means the can of tuna that costs $2 today will cost $4 when you are planning to retire. But here's where the trap gets really nasty. If your money is sitting in a savings account, earning 1% interest while inflation runs at 3%, you're actually losing 2% of purchasing power every year. Whiskers learned this lesson when she started tracking her expenses over time. 5 years ago, her monthly grocery bill for quality cat food was about $60. Today, buying the exact same products costs $85? That's a 40% increase in just 5 years. Her income had gone up modestly during that time, but nowhere near enough to keep pace with the rising costs of everything she needed. The inflation trap is particularly brutal for cats who think they're being responsible by keeping all their money in savings accounts. They watch their account balance grow slowly and feel like they're making progress. But in reality, their purchasing power is shrinking year after year. A savings account that earns 1% interest while inflation runs at 3% is guaranteed to make you poorer over time. Wealthy cats understand this trap and fight back with investments that historically outpace inflation. They put their money in assets that grow faster than prices rise, like diversified stock market investments that have averaged about 10% returns over long time periods. The key insight is that cash is not a safe place for long-term money. It's actually one of the riskiest places because inflation will definitely erode its value. The fifth trap is the subscription creep that's become epidemic in the digital age. This trap works by making small recurring charges feel insignificant while they systematically drain your finances month after month. The average cat now has 12 different subscription services, from streaming platforms to meal delivery to premium apps. Each individual subscription feels cheap, maybe $10 or $15 per month, but they add up to hundreds of dollars annually. Whiskers fell into this trap herself before she became financially aware. She signed up for a premium birdwatching app for $8 per month, then a monthly treat delivery service for $12, a meditation app for $10, a cloud storage service for $5, a music streaming service for $15. Each sign-up felt justified because the monthly cost was so low compared to her income. But when Whiskers finally added up all her subscriptions, she discovered she was spending over $200 per month on services she barely used. That's $2,400 per year disappearing automatically from her account. The psychological trap works because each individual subscription feels too small to matter, but collectively they represent a significant portion of your budget. The subscription trap is particularly insidious because these charges happen automatically. You don't feel the pain of paying because there's no conscious decision to spend the money each month. The services just quietly extract their fees from your account while you forget they exist. Companies deliberately make cancellation difficult, betting that you'll keep paying for services you no longer use rather than navigate their complicated cancellation process. These 5 traps work together to create a financial prison that keeps hardworking cats broke despite their best intentions. Lifestyle inflation increases your expenses. Credit card psychology makes you spend more than you realize. Emotional spending bypasses your rational decision-making. Inflation silently erodes your purchasing power. Subscription creep bleeds money from your accounts automatically. The good news is that now you know these traps exist. You have the power to avoid them completely. Whiskers wants every cat to understand that financial success isn't about earning more money. It's about keeping more of the money you already earn. The cats who build real wealth are the ones who recognize these psychological tricks and mathematical realities before they drain their bank accounts. Start by auditing your own finances today. Track where every dollar goes for 1 month and you'll be shocked at what you discover. Cancel subscriptions you don't actively use. Pay cash for discretionary purchases to engage your brain's natural spending breaks. When you get your next raise, save the entire increase instead of upgrading your lifestyle. Most importantly, get your money working for you instead of against you by investing in assets that outpace inflation. These aren't complicated strategies that require advanced degrees or insider knowledge. They're simple behavioral changes that compound over time into massive financial advantages. The difference between cats who build wealth and cats who stay broke isn't intelligence or luck. It's awareness of these traps and the discipline to avoid them. Whiskers has seen too many good cats work their entire lives only to end up financially stressed because they fell into these hidden traps. Don't let that be your story. Now that you understand how the game is really played, you can start winning instead of just participating. Your future self will thank you for making these changes today.